Hey, it's me, Chris LeClaire, host of More Morgellons, producer of More Morgellons, musical legend of More Morgellons, and certified Morgellons guru. If the definition of guru is someone who has had black goo coming out of their skin from Morgellons disease. Y'all, I brewed that goo the day I first got it, but I'm not. I repeat, I am not a guru. I'm not the, quote, world's leading clinical expert, unquote, like Dr. Nurse Practitioner Saint Ginger Savely. Let me savely a few grand before you go out and spend your last dime on somebody who treats you for Lyme when you got Morgellons. Is the flu sometimes COVID? No, that doesn't even make sense. Is Lyme sometimes Morgellons? No. Check your good common sense and save your dollars, or send them to me instead if you insist on being parted with your fortunes. Listen, I am just an N of 1, but I've tried all the treatments the pro-Lymies prescribe, and none, not a one, put a dent in this lint or these legions, and I suspect my N of 1 is really an N of legions. But since I don't have that data on hand, I can't make that claim. The burden of proof is always upon those who make any claim of truth. You are the world's leading clinical expert, meaning by reason of specialized education and substantial relevant experience in Morgellons disease, you have the most and best knowledge regarding current standards, practices, and guidelines pertaining to this disease? Okay, well, me too. Since we both have the same amount of knowledge, zip zippity doo, not a zilch nothing, what the world's leading clinical expert? Get the fuck out of here. Your buddies and business partner in an already questionable chronic Lyme clinic business saw an opportunity to expand your potential patient market from the local to regional, held national level. Fill your appointment book up, and all the while charging double or more over the industry standard rates for outpatient services to consumers who you, in all cases, failed to cure, in many cases failed to improve their symptoms or mitigate the progression of their illness. In some cases, you got lucky with a heaping, helping dose of placebo. When you have no standards, guidelines, or best practices because there is no verifiable replicated research regarding this disease, except your research, taking credit for people who got better after your treatments is kind of like the weatherman taking credit for the sunshine. It's going to be sunshine all week long, and you are welcome for that. I did that. You didn't do that. You were just standing around talking about the weather when the sun came out. I'm not an expert, I'm not an authority, I'm not a guru, but I am a sleuth, and again I tell you, those who claim the truth bear the burden of proof. And there hasn't been one single controlled clinical drug trial establishing the safety and efficacy of using antibiotics and ivermectin for prolonged periods of time in order to successfully treat Morgellons. That's what Ginger Savely and Raphael B. Stricker and all the other chronic Lyme/Morgellons doctors are going to prescribe you. Go ahead, waste your money if you want, but that shit is not going to get rid of your Morgellons disease. Nothing will get rid of your Morgellons disease as far as I know. If you're looking for the panacea or the placebo, you're going to have to find another show. This is not about getting rid of Morgellons. This is about living with it, which is something we all have to do until real standards, protocols, and best practices are established by research, independent, replicated research performed by individuals who do not have a financial stake in huge conflict of interest in proving that Morgellons disease is somehow Lyme's disease. Morgellons is Morgellons. Let me repeat that. Morgellons is Morgellons. That's one thing I'm sure of. All right, thanks for listening, and stay tuned. We're going to have a great episode. Credibility, the quality of being trusted and believed in. When it comes to medicine, who gets credibility? Who gets the most? Who gets the least? And who gets none at all? Well, let's talk about that. We know who's on the top of that tier. Doctors, ding, 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 ding. Scientists, yes, ding, 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 also correct. Scientists, doctors, they probably share the top two spots because there's a lot of overlap there. I would say nurses have some credibility, more for our ethics than our medical knowledge, because obviously we're not medical practitioners, we're practitioners of nursing. We treat people, not diseases. Patients have credibility, right? As long as they're the right kind of patients that have the right kind of diseases. The exact same people that enjoy privileges that are undeserved on the outside of the hospital enjoy those same exact privileges and higher levels of credibility on the inside of the hospital. Never forget that. Yes, I'm talking to my fellow white people. Minorities and women, just factually, objectively speaking, do not enjoy the same levels of credibility as white male counterparts. I can tell you as a mental health specialist, as I have been throughout my career in psychiatric nursing and administration, mental patients don't get much credibility. That's why they call it a stigma. And then there are patients who have no credibility. That would be us, guys, the Morgies. Yeah. Fun to be down here in the Untouchable cast, isn't it? No. But here's the thing. When you don't have a legitimate illness, how can you be a credible patient? Well, there's been some work done. Some work, a very limited amount of work, but some work that's been somewhat effective in legitimizing the reality, the credibility, the validity of Morgellons disease as a physical disease, not a mental illness. And a lot of that work that has been done by the Charles E Holman Foundation, and I give a lot of credit to the people who participate in that foundation and work towards getting the recognition of Morgellons as a real disease, not a delusional disorder. However, I have to say that the more and more I learn about the leading figures and researchers that are prominent in that organization and leading and directing that research, I am not entirely really fully comfortable endorsing otherwise the Charles E Holman Foundation and its research and the way that it has carried out its mission, because it's a little bit self-congratulatory and self-referential, meaning they cite their earlier research and their current research. I mean, reproducibility is a cornerstone of validity in science, guys. When all personal preferences and experiences aside, there is reason to question the credibility and the motives of certain people in certain contexts. Quite honestly, you have to consider what kind of conflicts of interest might be in play, and what's at stake. What are they doing it for? What's their reputation? What do they stand to gain? Let's talk about some of the big names in Morgellons research that's funded by the Charles E Holman Foundation. Pretty much every paper, at the top of that paper, you're probably going to see the names Raphael Schricker, Virginia Savely, Marianne Middleveen, Dr. Randy. Y'all know I'm a fan of Dr. Randy. Don't know that much about him. I just liked his personality on TV, I'll be honest. I got kind of curious because, we reviewed in an earlier episode the book by Virginia Savely, the nurse practitioner who claims to be the world's leading expert in a disease that really nobody fucking knows about, and she doesn't really offer any hard evidence to support the claims she makes. Hey, you guys, it's crystal clear. We're running out of time, but if you want to hear the rest of this, go check out my podcast, More Morgellons. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Google, all the tech companies that are stealing your data. Check it out. Have a great day and stay tuned.